Hi, this is Brian Venton here with another My Town Media opinion piece, this time on the theme Reforming the Queensland Local Government Act of 2009, a call for change. The LGA Act has been around for a long time, and whilst there has been change, there are now growing calls for reform of its fundamental structure and procedures. First, the issue of transparency and public trust. One of the primary concerns with the Act is the perceived lack of transparency in council decision making. And whilst councils are required to conduct meetings in a public forum, the use of closed-door sessions and confidential reports can often obscure accountability. Stronger legislative provisions should mandate clearer criteria for confidentiality and require detailed public disclosure of council decisions. All too often, transparency hides behind a veil of secrecy and people are left wondering what is really going on. Public trust and voter disenchantment ends up being the loser. Reform is needed. Second, the issue of partisan political manipulation in councils. Many people complain that councils are too politically driven, and however, eliminating political drivers is not all that easy. There is, in my view, a case to legislate that a council should be apolitical at all levels and collusion by political motive should be made unlawful. Third, the issue of community engagement and participation. The key principle of local government should be community engagement. However, under the current system, community consultation often feels tokenistic, with public feedback having limited impact on final council decisions. The Act should be amended to require more meaningful engagement processes, particularly in key areas of public impact. Perhaps a system of citizen advisory panels could be introduced where the public can influence major projects and policy decisions. Perhaps the introduction of digital engagement platforms could increase accessibility for residents unable to attend traditional council meetings. There is much that could be done, but councillors should be facilitating meaningful and, importantly, measurable engagement opportunities with constituents. Fourth, lessons from the UK devolution revolution model. The UK Devolution Act was introduced to the UK in December last year. This act is designed to empower mayors with greater autonomy, allowing them to better address regional challenges. The devolution revolution, as it's referred to, is intended to be exactly that, a fundamental shift from centrist power to regional power vested in the mayor of each region. The legislation has been lauded as a game changer for the UK councils, and whilst our circumstance is different in Queensland, a similar reform would have profound impact and revolutionise our local government landscape. It would virtually remove all partisan political decision-making from all levels of council. It would shift power structures from state government to local councils. It would empower mayors with greater decision-making authority and would create a more dynamic and responsive local government system. It would give a mayor authority as elected leader over every aspect of council activity. Councillors and the entire council administration would be directly accountable to the mayor, ensuring a streamlined and effective decision-making process. The structure would minimise bureaucratic inefficiencies and ensure local governments are more responsive to community needs. Without such reform, Queensland mayors, in my view, will remain figureheads rather than true leaders of their regions. It would be a game changer in Queensland. Checks and balances would need to be created. Clearly defined roles between state and local would need to be clarified. But a reform of this nature would restore public trust and confidence in the governance process. The question remains, though, would the Queensland government have the political will to reform the Act in this way? There is a perception that state authorities treat local governments as subordinate entities rather than autonomous governing bodies. And this reform would change that perception and would be a key indicator of the government's commitment to meaningful reform. And fifth, curtailing the influence of third-party not-for-profits. Local councils should function as completely self-governing entities without influence from third parties like the Local Government Association of Queensland, the LGAQ. And whilst in the past the LGAQ fulfilled a useful role, it has, in my view, reached its use-by date. It has the appearance of being conflicted, and many people believe it no longer serves councils equitably. Under the reforms I am suggesting, the LGAQ would be redundant. Instead, the government could legislate an entity called the Queensland State Council of Mayors, convened annually and chaired by the State Minister. It would exist to provide a non-voting forum of co-sharing between mayors directly with the government ministers, drive ongoing opportunities for devolution, and share mutual initiatives that are enhancing the communities that they serve. As a non-voting forum, it would remove the political platform of not only the LGAQ, but also by default the National Australian Local Government Association, called the ALGA, and also the Council of Australian Local Councils, called the CALC. These entities, in my view, have become highly politicised and function as a de facto fourth tier of governance in our country. In my model of reform, they would become redundant, simply because power will be vested back into the hands of the people via the mayor and his councillors. In conclusion, there's a growing concern that councils are being used to enforce state and federal agenda rather than act as servants to their local communities. True local governance should prioritise the interests and needs of residents rather than being dictated to by overarching political agendas. And this is why reform is needed. But does the Queensland Government have the political will to pursue a devolution revolution of their own? And whilst the LGA Act of 2009 exists to create a robust and effective framework for local governance, it requires significant reform to meet contemporary challenges. Enhanced transparency, ending partisan political manipulation, improve community engagement, adopting aspects of the UK devolution model, and curtailing the influence of third-party structures must be at the forefront of legislative change. It's time for reform. Tell me what you think. Thanks for watching, and remember, the things that appear are not always as they seem. Bye.